Make sure to subscribe to this channel for more videos like this.
Our Torcon is a 2, so that's a fairly low number on the scale that goes up to 10. But keep in mind, if there's a number, there's a risk. So every now and then, even under severe thunderstorm warnings, we can get a storm to rotate. So we'll be watching for that possibility today. But again, I think the damaging winds is going to be a little bit more likely. There's Montgomery. There's the storm action just off towards your north and west. And that line of storms has a history of producing flash flooding. So many county roads into northern Alabama as well as into parts of Mississippi under the warnings and have water covering some of the roads. So Montgomery, just a heads up that could happen in your region as these storms move through. Now, our latest short-term computer models, our high-res models, are showing some breaking up of that line as it moves through Montgomery. That would be better news, that it wouldn't be as widespread. Either way, though, you're definitely not going to be escaping the rain. This will continue until about 5 o'clock. That's when the worst of the thunderstorms we think will rumble on through. You'll still see some active wet weather beyond that continuing into the evening hours, but I think the worst will be over by the time you hit about the dinner hour or so. Keep in mind that the rainfall amounts could be anywhere between about an inch to as much as maybe 3 or 4 inches of rainfall. If we get on that higher end of things with some of that training, that's when we'll be more concerned about that flash flooding coming into play. But in the meantime, think on the range of 1 to 2 inches. Try and avoid travel across this region this afternoon if you can help it at all. So a lot of action already going on in northern Alabama. So Montgomery, big heads up. That's heading your way now.
I want to take it now a couple states to the right and look at the severe weather threat.
Town and show you what you can expect in terms of strong to severe thunderstorms. Notice Charleston, we don't have a Torcon for you, but just to your north and west, we do. That's where the 2s are in play. So Nesbith up towards Florence, over towards Cross and into Orangeburg, along the I-95 corridor here towards Walterboro, we do have Torcons of 2. So Chris described what a 2 means. It means the tornado risk is fairly low, but it's not 0. There is a possibility of that. So what time are storms going to be moving through your neck of the woods across the area? Let's take a look at our future radar and time this out for you. You do have a couple of hours to go with a window of opportunity of pretty decent weather. Notice this afternoon you saw a couple of blips there really quick, so it shows you the idea that you could get a brief downpour here this afternoon, but the main line still holding off towards your north and west at 7 o'clock. That's when it's going to be ripping through places like Orangeburg and then working its way towards Lake City. You can see that line coming through 9 o'clock at night, and by the time it reaches Charleston, we're talking around bed o'clock, right? 10, 11 o'clock or so. So if you are going to bed early, just be aware and be alert of that possibility. But by the time you wake up tomorrow morning, it's all over and done with, and you have some nicer conditions on the way. From wintry weather to severe storms, there are a lot of factors contributing to bringing down a tree. More importantly, there are warning signs that can help you to determine if trees around you might pose a risk. Meteorologist Mark Elliott explains of days, so just a heads up on that. In the meantime, the rain up and down the I-95 corridor is on the way. It's really in the interior where we're going to be seeing some of this snowfall. The higher elevations getting the biggest numbers, and we could get up to a foot of snow in parts of the Adirondacks. Syracuse, you'll likely get anywhere between 3 and 6 inches of snow, but keep in mind a lot of these spots are going to start out with rain. So once the snow begins, it's going to take a while for it to start to stick in many areas. So watch for the wet weather to continue to push in here. This will work its way into parts of New England as well. And then overnight tonight, that colder air begins to wrap in on the backside of this, and we'll start to see that wintry mix and then transition over to all snow in a lot of these spots. Buffalo over towards Syracuse, into Watertown, we could see some good accumulations. Even Burlington under that winter weather advisory with a handful of inches of snow, a possibility. And then notice what happens here as we head into Thursday afternoon and into Friday. Those northerly winds are going to be blowing across the lakes. I would not be surprised to get some snow streamers even into parts of Pennsylvania, I think, especially in the morning hours here on Friday. Wouldn't rule that out for you even in a place like Pittsburgh, so just a little bit of a heads up. The winds will be gusty. We're going to see gusts frequent around 30, maybe even as much as 40 miles per hour, and that's going to stick around. And look at this. It's baseball season, everybody, right? This is the opening day here tomorrow in New York City. Thankfully, the wet weather is going to be moving out by then, but it is going to be chilly, feeling more like football weather in the fall. Pretty bad in the sense that they're dropping visibility, they're dumping a quick coating of snow in spots, and you can't see a whole lot if you're trying to travel. So that's the danger that we have here with some of the snow squalls across the Great Lakes and into the Northeast today. What's the definition of that snow squall? Well, there's short-lived bursts of heavy snow and gusty winds. Those winds today have been around 30 miles per hour or so. So when you get the heavy snow combined with the gusty winds, your visibility goes down to almost nothing at times, certainly below a half of a mile. So that can be really quickly reduced. It's almost like blizzard conditions from time to time. And it's not consistent over a large area. It's just a small band that's moving through. So you can be traveling along and your conditions are fine. Then all of a sudden, boom, your visibility drops. And that's why it becomes so very dangerous. It can lead to high-speed car wrecks and pileups. In fact, we have one of those going on right now in Cleveland. Interstate 77 shut down for a small area as a result of a car accident from the snow squalls. In fact, about 20 vehicles in that one. This is a perfect example of going from nothing to something. I mean, that really shows you a 2-minute time difference can just mean everything, right? And certainly because of your travel. So that is a concern. You can hardly see that bridge when things looked very, very clear a little bit earlier. It also requires you to have a little bit more braking time. So average braking distance is about at 50 miles per hour on dry pavement is about 125 feet. When it's snowy, it goes all the way up to 500 feet, and when it's icy, it doubles even beyond that to around 1,000 feet. So by the time you actually are able to see the vehicle ahead of you, till it happens to dent their cars or damage their roofs. But last year alone, 2 hailstorms made the list of billion-dollar weather disasters. When it comes to your home, you shouldn't take chances with hail and wind. Meteorologist Alex Wilson shows us how to be prepared.
Of course, things have quieted down now in terms of storms, but you've got to look at when that may return.
Yeah, next week looks like it could be a little bit busier once again. The nice thing is, outside of South Florida today, our chance of storms is very low to non-existent across most of the lower 48, and that'll be the case through the entire weekend. But next week, our setup looks a little bit different. This graphic you're looking at, first of all, shows you kind of the classic weather pattern that we need that favors severe weather, especially across parts of the plains. When we have a dip in the jet stream across the west, warm, moist air comes in and feeds in from the Gulf, and we've got the cooler, drier air coming in on the north side of that jet stream. Now, our pattern next week is going to be making a little bit of a flip-flop. We're getting that heat returning across much of the east, and here comes that little dip or that little trough. So it's not as far south as we would like to see it to ideally bring in a severe weather outbreak. Not that that would ever be ideal, but we are seeing that return flow of that moisture back up towards the north, and we are definitely going to be getting some showers and thunderstorms with warmer temperatures on the way. So we're talking 60s in the upper Midwest, 70s across the central plains, and 80s across parts of the south. The 3 main ingredients you need for thunderstorms: warmth, moisture, and lift. So we have the warmth, we've got the lift, but the moisture is a little bit limited here. So that's something we're going to watch as we head into next week. From the Great Lakes to the Gulf Coast, we'll have a chance of storms when we start out Monday across the Midwest. All kinds of issues for travelers. Welcome back to Weather Center Live, everybody. How you doing? It's Thursday or Friday Eve. We all have felt like it should be Friday as of a couple of days ago, doesn't it? It's been a long week, but here we go in a new month, and we have a lot more to look forward to. And today, as we take a look at the big picture, we are definitely tracking a lot of these snow squalls under that upper trough. We've got some instability in place, and the temperature is cold enough that that snow continues to break out. There you can see our temperatures are on the chilly side, obviously cold enough for that snow, but they're well below the average, and not just across parts of the north. It stretches all the way down into parts of Florida. Highs are going to be about 10 to 25 degrees below average through tomorrow. But don't worry, don't get too worked up about it, because it's a quick hitter. Our temperatures are going to be bouncing back very quickly. Records expected across much of the west as we head through the weekend, and then next week, look at the warmer temperatures returning across the plains as well as into parts of the east. So we'll see those big changes. And then last but not least, after what we're expecting to be a very, very quiet Saturday and Sunday, next week we'll see return flow of that moisture across the nation's midsection, and that's going to be bringing in some showers showers and thunderstorms. So that's kind of the headlines. Alex, you're going to dig into some of these snow squalls, and boy, they're putting down a nice coating in some areas.
Yeah, they really are, and causing some issues. You mentioned earlier about the issues there in Ohio. Big time accident involving a number of vehicles. So yeah, these things can cause some